Welcome to Manifest This, Believer versus Skeptic. I'm Sharon your resident skeptic who asks all the tough questions. And with me is Jennifer Neal, our manifesting maestro. Whether you're rolling your eyes or raising your vibration, we dive into all things manifestation, mindset, and energy from every side. Hit subscribe, settle in, and get ready for spirited debates, surprising experiments, and laughter on the journey to creating a life you love. Welcome to Manifest This, Believer versus Skeptic. Today we're going to talk to our very special guest, Jason. He's an artist who moved from a small town to hard rock, and we want to know how Jason manifested his dream. He had dreams of seeing his work hanging in a world-famous brand just like the hard rock, but he had no connections, no obvious path, and no local hard rock near him. And somehow, not only does a hard rock open nearby, his art ends up inside. Did he manifest it? Or was it strategy, persistence, networking, timing, and of course, talent? We're going to find out. Jen, why don't you give us an introduction of Jason and lead us off?
I'm so excited because this is our very first guest ever. Jason, welcome to the podcast.
I'm honored. I'm honored to be the first one.
I'm so glad. So Jason and I go way back because we go way back. Really good friends for very, very many years. And I've watched Jason's journey over those years. So this is why I wanted Jason on the show. So Jason manifested his dream, and we're going to dive into that today, how he went from an artist slash graphic designer to actually having his art hang in the Hard Rock Hotel. The reason I think this is so exciting is because people think manifestation only works for tiny things like coffee, a cup of coffee, finding 20 bucks on the sidewalk, free parking spots. Sharon and I talk about that all the time. But artists, big dreams for artists, like this is almost a complete dichotomy, especially when you introduce an international brand like Hard Rock Hotel. So that's where beliefs, where I think people's belief systems start collapsing.
Or is it where common sense starts entering the room?
Of course, the skeptic shows up. So perfect. So welcome to Jason. Here he comes.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome, everybody, to Manifest This, Believer versus Skeptic. I'm Jennifer Neal. You know me. I am your believer.
And I'm Sharon, your healthy skeptic.
And today, our very first official guest on the show, artist Jason Recker from Carved Design. We've got lots to talk about.
And honestly, this story is crazy wild.
It totally is. So let's get started. So, Jason, before the Hard Rock Hotel story, I want to talk about something bigger and this general concept that artists are almost programmed. Now, you might say, Jen, that's actually not true. So you can correct me. But, I lived with an artist for 30 years. Artists are almost programmed with this starving artist mentality. Like if you're creative, and I don't mean if you're a creative lawyer, I mean if you're in the creative industry, if you're in the fine arts, if you're in the arts, if you're in the design world, it's almost as if you're in that world, you're supposed to struggle. And if you're successful, then you sold out. So tell us a little bit about that contrast. Did you ever feel that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I've never considered myself to be an artist until just recently. All these years, I've considered myself to be a designer. So as a designer, I've always had to sell my work. So I'm coming at it from a different angle where, if you were an artist, I can see why and how that starving artist mentality would come because you're not used to selling yourself. I've been a graphic designer for 30 plus years. I know what it's like to sell my creativity. So that part of it wasn't too foreign to me. So I knew that going into this, or actually, I didn't plan to go into it, but as I got into it, it was, I have no intention on being a starving artist. I have intention to be a successful artist. And that was it right from the get-go. As soon as I made the decision, and it was a decision to be a successful artist, that's when I had this mindset. Now, from the beginning, I was just playing around. I was just doing something because it was COVID. My wife, Shayna, had kicked me in the butt and said, why don't you go start doing some of that stuff you've talked about in the past about being an artist? And being an artist for me was always something I'll do that later, older, retired, or whatever. It wasn't kind of on my schedule. I was a graphic designer and that's what I was. And then once I started doing that and realizing that there might be an avenue for this, that's when my mindset changed to I'm going to be an artist, and I started journaling about it. And not a lot, but from the get go, it was I'm going to be a successful artist, or I am a successful artist. Not sorry, I'm not going to be. I am a successful artist, and that's kind of where it all started.
Did you believe that
Um, I
first? Did you believe you were a successful artist?
I did because I was seeing some success. I had started making some artwork and for fun for me and posting it on social media and online. And then I started getting people asking if that was for sale, and which totally shocked me because I was just doing this for fun. And then, and it kept going. The more I made, the more people were interested in it. From that point of view, I was like, I already was successful. And so I'm going to be a successful artist. There's no other way around this. I am a successful artist already. So I just said, yep, that's it. I'm not going to be starving. I'm going to make this happen. So that was right from the get go.
Jason, do you think defining the term designer versus artist frames an identity? And with that identity, we have preconceived notions?
100%. Yeah, for sure. I think if you start out, I've talked to a lot of the younger people that are, uh, maybe went to school for art, quote unquote, as opposed to graphic design. And I see that mentality in them where it's just like, well, how do you do, they're afraid to charge or they're afraid to ask for money, of their worth on their artwork. They have a lot of stuff that they have to go through that I kind of already went through with being a graphic designer because it's kind of embedded in you that you are going to sell this. Whereas an artist, you kind of put it out to the world and just kind of hope that something happens, right? Hope everybody likes my work. Oh, here's I'll give it to you for really cheap, or it's hard to find value as an artist in yourself until you start finding or you start having some success. And so I think I kind of jumped that, coming from my creative background where I had success and then into artwork, and then I just assumed that I will have success.
Realistically, most artists don't end up in luxury hotels or with international brands. Most are just fighting to get local exposure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
See, and this is where manifestation absolutely fascinates me because the moment that somebody, in your case, Jace, like the moment you believe something is possible, you started expecting success to show up versus someone that expects the impossible part of it. They'll stop looking for pathways. They'll stop looking for the signs,
Yeah, for sure.
right?
Yeah, and well, I went to when I was first dabbling with this, and whether I wanted to, I was just trying to figure out if I wanted to get a studio space or not, and that was kind of my, um, crossing the line into, I'm going for this.
Right.
And so I went up to there was an artist I liked in Toronto, and he had a spot in one of the shopping malls in Yorkdale. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to slip up there. It was like a Wednesday. It was raining. I drove up there by myself. I just want to check out this guy and see, what's going on. So I went in there and I looked at it and I was going like, I can do this. This isn't anything special. He just made a call, say, "Hey, can I get a space at this place?" Where other artists would be scared to do that. And I'm like, I can do this. This is a no-brainer. And I turned around, went back to London, and I went and it was I was off running from there. It was I don't know why, it was just seeing that and going, this I can do this. I'm gone. So let's make this happen. And I made that decision right there. I'm going to do this.
So, Jason, why hard rock specifically? Why not just hope for general success?
Well, I think it just it fell that way because of the type of artwork I was creating. I always had a love for music and pop art, and I was kind of making these, recreating these Rolling Stone magazine covers, and that's what was really taking off. And so I was music was my muse, and I was creating a lot of pieces, which was successful, or which was people were really interested in, and I saw a future there. And so that's because I just love doing that. So I thought that, well, why don't I? Where would be a place that would appreciate these. And it was obviously Hard Rock Hotel would be a first place. And I've been to a couple, and I thought, hey, this stuff would fit right in there. And so that's kind of where the hotel destination kind of came to life. And out of anything else, I never really looked for anything else, to be honest.
This is like we talk about this all the time, the benefit of specificity. You know, if you I talk about the fact if you go on to Amazon and you pick the item, you can even pick which price you want to pay for the item and when you want it delivered and the size and the color and you and it shows up, right? We don't think about putting that kind of specificity into our dreams, but you did that. It was very specific what you wanted, and obviously you got it, but very specific.
Or maybe
Mhm.
a little bit obsessive.
Maybe obsession's a part of it. In fact, I would say obsession is a part of it. We know that we talked about this yesterday that Napoleon Hill talked about having a burning desire. So, Jason, it sounds like you had a burning desire um, for Hard Rock Hotel. Tell us, did you visualize it? Did you talk about it? Did people think you were nuts when you brought up this idea? And maybe tell us a little bit about the journey because I'm from London, Ontario. You are in London, Ontario. There was no Hard Rock Hotel when I grew up in London, Ontario. So
Mhm.
maybe you can tell us a little bit about that too.
Well, I'll tell you about the journey for sure. So it got to a point where it was like, I was getting a lot of commissions from doing this artwork, and it was all through social media. I was just posting it on Instagram, my process, and people were, hey, is that one for sale? Or hey, can you do this? And then I had one TikTok go viral, and I got 10 commissions out of that one TikTok.
Get
And
out.
so there was something going on here. And the biggest thing was at this point, all my work was going to the States. And it was like my first four that I sent went to New York, Texas, Michigan, and there wasn't a lot going to Canada. And so my initial goal was I want to have my artwork in somebody's house in California. And within a month, that happened. And that was, I journaled that. And then it was the West Coast loved my artwork. They got it. I was sending a lot of stuff out there, selling nothing around here just because they didn't get it. And that was fine. Had no intentions of trying to make a local art scene for myself. And because I knew that, my city is really conservative and, there might be some pockets in there that get it, but not really. And that didn't matter to me. This going to deciding to go after Hard Rock was just like a Sunday afternoon, and I said, well, I want to look and see maybe I can email some of these places and see where if anybody's interested. So I went through and I emailed all around the world, all the hotels, all the big ones in the States. Canada does not have a Hard Rock hotel. So there's nowhere in Canada that I could email to find somebody. So I don't know, if I did 20 emails out to different places, and I was just trying to find something online. And maybe a quarter of that I heard back from, and they were just polite thank yous, or they weren't interested or anything. So there was no there was no indication that this was a viable route to go. So I kind of just left it. But I had journaled in my journal at the time. I was journaling daily, and I had mentioned that I want to get my art hanging in a Hard Rock hotel somewhere. And I didn't do it a lot. I just, I probably did it a couple times. And because I was looking back in my old journals trying to find it, and I couldn't find it. But I know I had done it. So it wasn't a lot, but I did do that. But what I did do a lot was I journaled that I was a successful artist. And so I didn't, it probably went a while. And then I was reading the online and it said, Hard Rock Hotel is opening in London, Ontario. And I was like, what? London, Ontario,
Yeah,
the
London.
first one in Canada. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So I go like, oh my God. So I started searching to try like, who can I talk to here? And so, this was the very early days. It's just announced. I think they were just they're, obviously getting stuff together. And there was one person name came up. I emailed him a couple times through LinkedIn or something, and no response, no nothing. And then I finally found out who the owners were that were running it. So I sent them an email and they just replied, oh yeah, great. At this time, they didn't know who I was. It could have been anybody. They said, okay, thanks. So But we, we're a ways away from having to deal with any of that stuff. But thanks for connecting. So this is they're building this hotel in the old Kellogg's factory, which is in London, and which happens to be about 3 blocks from on my same street that my studio is. It's just down the road. I can see it from my front door, from out on the sidewalk. And so they're developing this hotel in the old factory. So that, along with some other stuff that's built in there. But that summer they had a market, where you can go and you could set up and do sell your stuff. You've got the jewelry people and all the stuff there. And so I got a booth. I got the biggest booth I could get. For it was 3 weekends. And I paid for the 3 weekends, and it was like $2,500. And at that time, that wasn't a wise investment, but what I wanted to do was get my artwork there and in front of the owners so the owners could see it. So I did. So I set up this booth, and this was like right after COVID. We still had to wear masks and all this stuff. And this is kind of like one of the early big events where people were always all getting together. And so in that market, I had this great big booth, and my artwork, if you've seen it, it's very colorful and it's big, and it just like it was so powerful there. And the whole reason why I did that was to get in front of these people. So sure enough, after the second day, the owners came by, who I'd found out who they were. They came by and took a look at it. They loved it. They bought 2 pieces off me right there, which paid for my weekend. And then that was it. So I was like, great, 'cause they were still a ways away from the hotel. And I never heard anything again. But I knew that I had made a contact. I had a name, so we knew face to face. They knew that I was a normal person. They saw the artwork and they could judge how well they liked it. Moving forward, I can't remember the timeline. It was probably within the year after that. I get an email, and it's from this place in Spain. Ended up being the interior designers for the Hard Rock Hotel. They do all the hotels for the chain, and it's out of this place in Spain. And she said that the owners wanted me to ask you if you'd be interested in doing a piece of artwork for the hotel. And I was like, yes, of course. We're working through it. We're getting there, but we just want to make sure that if you were interested and available, so of course. So it was about a course of 2 years to this whole process before they actually delivered the artwork and the hotel was ready. But it ended up that my piece is the centerpiece of the hotel. When you come in the lounge, my piece is the centerpiece. It's right, the thing you look for, the best piece in the whole place. I've got the best location. And so like when I had got that email, I was so excited. I went down and I talked to my wife, who she's kind of known what I was doing this, but not as much as I had been. I said, not only did I manifest my artwork to be in a hotel, I manifest the whole goddamn hotel 3 blocks from my studio. I was like, unreal. Like I couldn't believe it. And so it was just like, the best case scenario for sure.
So you've walked us through this amazing story and this massive dream. Here's where I push back a little bit on the manifestation people, because sometimes they actually leave out the work part. And you've just described an awful lot of work to get here.
Well, maybe, but we always know that part of manifestation is taking inspired action. You can't sit on a couch, not never pick up your phone or your paintbrush and expect your art, like there has to be some action at some point.
There has to be action attached to it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and Jason, you still had to create the art, you still had to put yourself out there, you still had to take the risks and pitch in a
yeah.
very creative way, I would say, and take a financial hit on that. You still had to be rejected, and yet you kept going.
Yeah, well, the thing was like I'm doing it anyways. So like I'm creating and putting this out to the world anyways. Where I want it to go, what if? What if I can get it into the hotel? But like I always tell the kids that are always my kids that are always naysayers. No, I don't want to try that, or I don't like that, or what if it fails, or something like, well, what if it doesn't, or what if you like that food? Like you could be missing out on something. So haven't always been that way, but like going through this process, I've kind of learned that what if I give that a try and see what happens? Like I'm at that age where I've failed enough knowing that I'll always get back up. I'll always keep going. And so, like, why not keep trying and see what happens? Put it out to the universe.
And we talk a lot about identity work. Like, what if you acted like a person that was a successful artist who was being commissioned by international brand like
Yeah,
Hard Rock Hotel, right?
exactly.
It's being the version of yourself who moves a little bit differently than maybe the graphic designer that had clients come to him. Now you are acting like you're acting like the version of the person who does this kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's
right?
what when I went to Toronto to see that artist, and I was like, he's not doing anything that I can't do. And I could see how he carried himself as a successful artist. And I was like, well, I'm going to carry myself as that too. Like just going back for a sec when I was at that market and I had those pieces there. Those pieces were, they're not market material. Like nobody's going in there to spend thousands of dollars on a piece of art. And I would have people come up and just laugh in my face that you're asking how much money for this? And it didn't bother me. And there were a lot of artists where they would say, "Oh, okay, well, I'll give it to you for less or a half price or whatever, whatever it is." I was like, "Well, then you're not my client. You're not the one that needs to buy this because people are spending that money on this." And that is my version of a successful artist is that I'm sticking to what I feel the value is. And if you don't want to pay for it, that is fine. That's fine. There's somebody else that will. So I've put it out to the universe that, people are happy to pay money for my art. They're happy to give me money for my art, not as a graphic designer. Sometimes I feel that they don't. People are giving it because it's a business. It's part of the business or investing in the business. Where artwork, you're buying it because it makes you feel joy because you feel good about it, and that's what I love about this art stuff is that I just have to feel good at the end. I don't care if it has to sell a product or, move, something. It just has to feel good at the end. And that's my version of a successful artist is, me feeling good about it at the end.
I think a lot of people listening might feel trapped by their geography, small town, small network, small opportunities. So that mindset could become a bit of an identity. How do you go beyond your environment?
Yeah, well, that's very true. Um, Even as a graphic designer, I've always set my goals. Whatever I did, would it stand up in Toronto? Would it stand up in a big city? Or in a higher volume area? My bar was never small town. But I see a lot of people, a lot of designers, a lot of artists that this is it. They're looking to show their art. They're thrilled to show their art at a park. And that's as high as they want to go or feel they can go. And I've seen some amazing artwork, whether they're at festivals or something. And if that works for them, then that's great. But my bar was always higher. And coming from a small town, and it took me a while to get over the small town mindset, and it wasn't until I remember one day, and I forget what the reason was, but I was driving on the 401 thinking about whatever, and I said, "My God, got my mother's mindset, my lack of mindset." And it was just like that. It was like, "Oh my God." And I saw where my mom ended up. Now she's happy, but she never went anywhere. She had this I'm just a farm girl, that's all that I'm ever gonna be kind of thing. And I was like, There's no way that I can go through life without saying what if." And it was kind of from there on, I was like, I'm gonna see what I can do. I'm just gonna throw it out to the universe, say, hey, I want to try some new stuff and I want it to be a success. What's that gonna be? I just always push for more, take
What do
some
you
risks. I
think
mean, that's the entrepreneur in me, I guess.
what do you think causes those limiting beliefs for people?
Well, it's just growing up and not seeing people succeed outside of, their circle, I guess, in different ways. For me, it was always like I will always I'm kind of willing to take risks and see what happens and risking the fact that it'll work out rather than risking the fact that it won't work out. And I always I want to try. I would be disappointed if I didn't try. and say, well, being at this age now, going, I wish I would have done that back then. And, now I've tried pretty much most of the things that I've wanted to try.
But let's hold on a minute here too, because we're not just talking about becoming a successful artist. And for any artist that's listening out there, what a great podcast for all of the aspiring artists out there, because there's such a good news story here. But you literally attracted with energy an entire hotel brand to not just come to Canada, but to come to London, Ontario, which is where you lived, where your studio was, where your art was being created. Like, I'm sorry, people, this is not just about ambition. This is about, and you go back to the parking lot where you had your festival, where you showcased your art. You were putting your energy into the parking lot. The owners picked up on your energy. There is energy in artwork. I mean, we all know that the wealthiest, wealthiest, wealthiest people in the world collect what? What do they collect?
They collect
Art.
art. Yeah.
And they don't only collect art because it retains its value and in many cases it goes up. They collect art because you said it, it makes them feel good. The very, very wealthy are really interested in the energy they get off of beautiful things like baccarat crystal chandeliers and beautiful artwork. And so this isn't just a story for me, of course, the believer, about ambition. This is a story of absolutely asking, believing, and receiving
Hmm.
exactly what you set out for.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Jason. So you've told us an amazing story. What's next for you?
Well, because of how successful that last one was without trying too hard, I've got a new one that I'm putting in motion. And like a year ago, it was really slow around the studio for a couple months, and it really wasn't carrying itself. And I was kind of like, okay, well, maybe this is played out and time to try something else and concentrate on my graphic design business. And so I had put out to the universe, like literally walking the dog, said, universe, give me some kind of sign that I need to stay in this space. Give me some work. Give me a project or something that just says that, yeah, you need this space. And as I told my wife, at the end of the month, I'm going to give my notice if nothing happens. And so, no word of a lie, Jen, you're going to love this. It was the 29th of the month. So whatever month it was the 30th. It was the end of the month. I was going to give my notice. The 29th, I get an email from um, uh, a friend of mine. He owns car dealerships here. And he goes, hey, we built a new headquarters, and I've been thinking about you for a long time, and then we're finally ready. Can you come by the space? I want you to do some artwork for it. Sure. Come by the next day. I walked out of there with commission for 10 pieces.
Come on.
Wow.
And I did we ended up only doing 7, but they're all giant pieces. They're all like 4 by 8 feet. Like they're all these great big pieces that were going into their headquarters. And this is a brand new building, ultra modern, all stone and glass, iron, and it's all like grayscale in there. And he goes, I want your artwork to be the color in here. And so I was like, oh my God. And it has to all be car stuff. And I'm a car guy. So as much of a music guy I am, I'm a car guy too. And so this was kind of like best case scenario. So anyways, long story short, that kept me busy for the rest of the year doing these big pieces. So, and I really loved them. They really turned out really cool. And you can see them on my website. And they were all pieces cars that they wanted. And so there's lots of cars that I want to do. And so I'm starting a new one right now. I'm just got it started. But my goal is to find other guys like them that are car guys that they love their car, and it doesn't matter how much that piece of artwork costs. I've just spent $300,000 on my car. I
Right.
want something cool that represents my love for this brand, this car, whatever, on my wall in my garage, in my man cave or whatever. So my new manifestation is I want to go to Barrett Jackson, which it's the biggest car auction in the US. They have one in Palm Beach, Vegas, and Scottsdale. And so I want to have my artwork there in some format for sale. So That's my new thing. So, as I talked before about putting stuff in motion, last 2 weeks or a week ago, we went back to the headquarters with my video guy and we were creating a promo video for it. So, we're going to promo video the pieces that are done, me creating the artwork. And I'm going to be contacting the people. I'm just going to be emailing, just like I did the Hard Rock. I'm emailing people, or I don't even know who these people are yet, at Barrett Jackson and any of the other people that are associated with high value vehicles. I'm going to start tracking down, send this video out and say, hey, I've got artwork.
Well, I
Can
do
I make
hope
it happen?
that, Jay Leno is listening because, of course, he'd be an amazing car collector, and maybe even Jerry Seinfeld, who takes
Yeah.
comedians in
Like right now,
cars,
the one I'm
right?
working
He'll have
on is
some connections for you. That
yeah.
would be
So the one I'm
exciting.
working on right now is a Porsche piece, so I'm going to be looking for Porsche people to send this particular promo to for sure. Jerry Seinfeld's a Porsche guy. But,
Yeah,
again, so this is not small town thinking. This is global. This is like, what if?
yeah,
Why? What if they open my email and say, hey, that looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
Let's see what can happen.
Yeah.
and don't forget us crazy ladies on Vespas either.
And on Vespas. Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
great.
So we'll see. Maybe this time next year, we'll have another conversation
I think
and
we
you would
should.
have heard it
Fantastic.
first.
Yeah, I think we should. So, what do you say to the person listening right now who has a dream that is so big, they're embarrassed to even say it out loud, whether you're an artist or not, or you're a fishmonger? Like, what do you say to that person that has a big dream?
Well, like I've mentioned before, it's the what if factor. What if it works? Why not give it a try? You don't have to, just have to take some steps towards it. My steps were buying those first canvases back however long ago and letting them sit in the hallway for about a month and a half before I did anything. But I made that first step. And I tell you, that was a big step for me, was just buying those canvases. And then I started doing stuff on it that I never even ended up finishing. But again, that was one step. It's just taking those baby steps. It's like they always say, how do you eat an elephant? It's, one bite at a time. I think just start going down the road. And if the road starts laying out in front of you, then you follow it. If not, at least you tried. And now you can put it away instead of being 20 years later going, I wish I would have tried that. Or who knows, I could have been this or I could have done that. What if? What if?
How did you feel when you first opened up your camera and started taping your process?
I had, because I wasn't doing that, and I had a couple of people say, "Well, we want to see how you do it. It looks really cool." And okay, I never thought about that, and of course, like the stuff that I'm doing, it's like eye candy anyway. So like why wouldn't I be doing that? And so I can pick and choose the cool parts of the process and doing posting those, that has always had a lot of feedback. And that's what my one viral video was, where I was pouring resin, and everybody loves the resin pours that I do. And it's cool. It's cool to watch, and that's gotten me a lot of work. Is just pouring these resins at the end, and
Right?
it's so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest lesson here is, and we know this in the world of manifestation, people wait for the external evidence before they believe that it can actually happen or that they can do it. But most of the extraordinary lives we know are built by people who believed before they saw the evidence. And you did exactly that.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
such congratulations to you. I'm so glad
Thanks so
you got
much.
to come with
That's
us.
great. Great, Jason. It's a fascinating story. Let us know, what are your socials? How can people get a hold of you?
JasonRecker.com is my website, and JasonRecker_art is Instagram. And that's where you'll find most of my posts are through Instagram, some TikTok too. Same again, Jason Recker, and that's where it all happens.
And we're gonna post that in our show notes as well, folks, so you can find Jason, and take a look at his fabulous art and support the arts community, of course, and support the dream of someone who did something absolutely insane. Thanks so much, Jason.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Jennifer, I'll admit this one shook me a little because the specificity of it is really weird. He didn't just say, I want success. He actually named the exact brand.
His art hangs exactly in that brand,
All right, so which either means manifestation is real.
or reality bends towards obsession, right?
Yeah. And honestly, I'm not sure which one is scarier.
Listen, to everybody listening, maybe your dream feels ridiculous right now, and maybe your Hard Rock Hotel doesn't exist quite yet, but that doesn't mean that it can't.
And if nothing else, this episode proves that small town thinking and small town possibility are not the same thing.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time on Manifest This Believer versus Skeptic. Bye for now.
Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.
Thanks for tuning in to Manifest This Believer versus Skeptic. If you enjoyed today's conversation, share it with a friend, believer or skeptic. And don't forget to leave us a review so others can join in the debate. Plus, check out Jennifer's TikTok account, Manifestation RX, where she writes daily prescriptions for manifesting your dreams. Think practical tips with a dash of magic. We love hearing your questions and stories, so tell us what you're manifesting or questioning this week. Until next time, keep an open mind and maybe manifest a little magic.